Hi, this is Daryl Densford. I'm at Beulah Cemetery on Fort Rucker in Alabama. It's a pre-Civil War cemetery that is still in use here, actually. You can go through the cemetery and see some soldiers who are interred here. That's one of the things our nation does well, our military does well, is honoring those who have fallen in battle, who have sacrificed their lives in defense of freedom, our freedom, and those who we protect. You could go to many of our national cemeteries at Arlington, around the country, even our state cemeteries, and see how our country honors those who have fallen in battle. There at Arlington, there's a special place for chaplains called Chaplains Hill. On that hill, there are many chaplains buried, many who have died during war, some who served a full career and died later in life, but are honored there. Join me now as we go to Arlington National Cemetery to visit Chaplains Hill and see some of the chaplains who are interred there. As we approach Chaplains Hill, that's located in Section 2 at Arlington, we see four prominent monuments that memorialize multiple chaplains. There's one that honors chaplains who were killed during World War I, another that honors Protestant chaplains killed during World War I and World War II, a third one that honors Catholic chaplains that were killed during World War II, as well as the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and then the fourth one that honors Jewish chaplains who died on active duty. We won't be able to talk about all of the chaplains buried here, but one of the prominent grave sites here at Chaplains Hill is Chaplain Charles Waters. He was a chaplain during Vietnam, and during the Battle of Dak II in November '67, he continually exposed himself to enemy fire as he would go out and bring in wounded soldiers from the battlefield. He was finally killed by a bomb that was dropped mistakenly by U.S. forces. He posthumously received the Medal of Honor for his bravery and heroism on the battlefield. Another interesting grave here on Chaplains Hill is that of Chaplain Joshua Goldberg. According to the National Museum of American Jewish Military History, Chaplain Goldberg was born in Russia. In the outbreak of World War I, he was drafted into the Russian army, where he served as a private. But when the Western Front collapsed, he fled Tsarist Russia, and after an 8-month journey, he arrived in the U.S. in 1916. And not long after arriving in the U.S., he volunteered to serve in the U.S. Army, and he served with the American Expeditionary Forces in France. After the war, he went back to New York. He studied religion, became a rabbi in 1926. Then in 1941, he received a commission in the Navy as a chaplain. He was the first rabbi during World War II to receive a Navy commission. During the war, he traveled with members of Protestant and Catholic clergy to naval bases around the world, conducting interfaith services, making sure that American soldiers and sailors had places of worship regardless of their faith. There are several Army Chief of Chaplains buried here. I'll just mention a few of them. First, there's John Axton. Chaplain Axton was the first Army Chief of Chaplains. He was a colonel. He served as the chief from July 1920 until April 1928. Interestingly, his son was also a chaplain, John Axton Jr., who rose to the rank of colonel. He served in World Wars I and II, as well as Korea. But he's buried there as well. Not a chief, but interesting that he's buried there, Chaplain Axton's son. Another Army chief that's buried here is Alva Brasted. He was Army Chief of Chaplains from December 33 until December 37. He was a Baptist, by the way. He also was just a colonel. The next one of significance here, the Army Chief of Chaplains, is Arnold. Chaplain William Arnold. He was the first chief that had the rank of Major General. He served also during World War II. He was the chief from December 37 through February 45. It was Chaplain Arnold who was behind the major chapel, the Cantonment Chapel building project, which is significant in Army history. Another chief that's buried up here is Roy Parker, Southern Baptist. He was chief from 1949 until 1952. Then we have Frank Toby. Chaplain Toby was the chief from 58 to 62. He was American Baptist. Gerhardt Hyatt is buried here as well. Hyatt was chief from 71 to 75. He was a Lutheran. I didn't mention Chaplain Axton was Congregational. Chaplain Brasted was Baptist. Chaplain Arnold was Roman Catholic. Chaplain Arnold, by the way, was the first Catholic chief of chaplains. There are a few Navy chief of chaplains I'll point out. First, there's William Thomas. He was the Navy chief from July 45 to September 49. Then Salisbury, Chaplain Stanton Salisbury was the chief from September 49 to February 53. And there's one more that's readily visible here on Chaplains Hill, and that's Chaplain Francis Garrett. Chaplain Garrett was the Navy Chief of Chaplains from July 70 to July 75. There are also a few Air Force Chief of Chaplains. Of course, they don't have as long of a history as Army and Navy, since they didn't come into being until after World War II. But one that's here is Chaplain Roy Terry. He was the Air Force Chief of Chaplains from August 1970 to August 1974. And then there's Chaplain Richard Carr. He was the Air Force Chief of Chaplains from November 1978 to July 1982. And then finally, Chaplain Arthur Thomas, Air Force Chief of Chaplains from August 95 to August 97. There are many, many chaplains buried here on Chaplains Hill at Arlington. We couldn't look at them all. We hated to leave any of them out. They all deserve our recognition, our honor. But the ones that we did highlight as representative of all who are buried here, I hope that they inspired you in the lives that they lived and in serving others, and sometimes in the lives that they gave up in serving others. I also hope this will help you to remember our chaplains in uniform, what they do every day, and many times going into harm's way, going unarmed, putting themselves at risk so that they can help to meet the spiritual needs of those who they're called to care for. And they do all these things without a thought to their own safety, to their own life. They do it for God and country. This is Daryl Densford for the Chaplain Kit. Thanks for tuning in.